Imagine driving a machine so long, you need binoculars to see the last trailer. Welcome to the world of Australian road trains, the biggest, baddest rigs on Earth. These trucks don't just haul loads, they haul entire industries across the desert. Let's dive into the 10 machines that turned road trains into Aussie icons. 1. AEC Government Road Train, 1934. Back in 1934, the Australian government rolled out something that looked more like a science experiment than a freight solution, the AEC Government Road Train. Picture a bus crossed with a tractor and then add trailers that were actually powered. It was Britain's attempt to conquer the outback with a mechanical camel. The AEC wasn't fast, glamorous, or even particularly comfortable, but it was revolutionary. Instead of endless camel trains or unreliable rail, this contraption could haul supplies, mail, and even livestock across the Northern Territory. Suddenly, isolated stations had a lifeline that didn't spit, bite, or need water every hour. Of course, it wasn't perfect. It got bogged, it overheated, and drivers swore it handled like a stubborn mule with square wheels. But it planted the seed. If a truck could survive here, it could survive anywhere. In a land as tough as Australia's interior, that made the AEC less a machine and more a trailblazer. That was just the beginning, and trust me, the next truck makes the AEC look like a toy. Stick around because by the end, you'll see road trains so powerful, they move mountains and subside while you're at it. 2. Diamond T Bertha, 1945. If the AEC was the science project, then Bertha was pure bush ingenuity. After World War II, Kurt Johansson took a surplus Diamond T tank hauler and turned it into something the Outback had never seen, a road train with self-tracking trailers. It looked like Frankenstein's monster, but it worked. Johansson was tired of cattle bogging down in rail yards and decided trucks could do better. So he built Bertha in Alice Springs, complete with trailers that followed like obedient dogs instead of dragging sideways into trees. Suddenly, moving cattle long distances became faster, cleaner, and relatively less stressful for both driver and beast. Sure, Bertha rattled your bones, and at times you wondered if bolts would shake loose before the cattle did. But it proved the concept. Road trains weren't just a government novelty, they could be a working man's tool. In many ways, Bertha was the birth certificate of the Australian road train industry. 3. Mack Superliner. By the 1970s and 80s, road trains had grown up, and few trucks had a reputation like the Mack Superliner. This beast was all muscle, often packing V8 power plants that sounded like thunder rolling across the desert. If the earlier road trains were pioneers, the Superliner was the prize fighter stepping into the ring. The Mack quickly became a favorite for hauling cattle and fuel across the Northern Territory. Drivers swore by its strength and sometimes swore at its quirks. Its cab wasn't exactly designed for five-star comfort, but when you've got 3 trailers of cattle kicking up dust behind you, plush upholstery isn't your top concern. What made it iconic was its sheer dependability. Like a boxer with a granite chin, the Superliner could take punishment, endless corrugations, brutal heat, and payloads that would make lesser trucks cry uncle. Even today, spotting a Superliner on the open road feels like seeing an old gunslinger ride into town. 4. Kenworth C501. When it comes to outback heavy haulage, the Kenworth C501 is the truck that eats steel for breakfast. Built in the 1990s specifically for road train duty, it was Kenworth's answer to Australia's appetite for bigger, stronger, tougher. With massive Cummins and Detroit diesels under the hood, it had more grunt than a bull in a china shop. The C501 wasn't flashy, but it didn't need to be. Its job was simple. Hook up 4 trailers, point toward the horizon, and keep pulling until the red dust ran out. Drivers praised it for raw durability and cursed it when fuel bills arrived. But if you wanted to haul 200 tons across the Pilbara, this was your weapon of choice. Today, it's a legend among truckers. Like a heavyweight champ who still gets name-dropped decades later, the C501 proved that Kenworth knew how to build machines that didn't just survive the outback, they dominated it. 5. Kenworth K200 and K100. If the C501 was the brute, the Kenworth K-Series cabovers were the clever workhorses. Starting with the K100 and evolving into the K200, these rigs became synonymous with Australian road trains. Their cab-over design let them squeeze maximum trailer length under strict length laws, a trick as handy as finding an extra beer in the fridge. The K-Series didn't just save space, they earned respect. Drivers loved the visibility and the ability to tackle narrow depots where conventional bonnets were a nightmare. With Detroit and Cummins power, they could drag triple and even quad trailer sets across the Nullarbor without breaking a sweat. The K200 especially cemented its place in modern fleets. It brought in better comfort and safety tech without losing that raw road train toughness. For many Aussies, seeing a K200 hauling ore or livestock is like spotting a kangaroo. So common, it almost feels like part of the landscape. 6. Western Star 6900 FX-C. Now, if you want something that looks like it could tow a mountain, the Western Star 6900 FX-C is your truck. This North American brute was adapted for Australia's heaviest road train work, particularly in the mining regions of WA and NT. It's the kind of rig that makes other trucks feel like hatchbacks. Packing monstrous horsepower and torque, the 6900 FX-C was built for payloads north of 200 tons. Ore, machinery, fuel, if it was big and heavy, Western Star could drag it across country. The cab was spacious, the frame was reinforced, and the whole package looked more like a rolling fortress than a truck. It may not have the nostalgic charm of a Mack or Kenworth, but in terms of sheer presence, the 6900 FX-C is unforgettable. Seeing one thunder down a dusty outback road is like watching a skyscraper on wheels, equal parts intimidating and impressive. 7. Volvo FH16. When the Volvo FH16 hit the Australian market, some old-school truckies raised an eyebrow. A European cab-over in the outback? That's like bringing a tuxedo to a rodeo. But with up to 700 and later 750 horsepower, the FH16 proved it wasn't here to look pretty, it was here to work. In the Pilbara and Northern Territory, these Volvos started hauling iron ore in bulk freight with a surprising mix of muscle and refinement. Drivers were suddenly treated to cabs with air-suspended comfort, safety features that actually saved lives, and engines that pulled like freight trains. The Swedish engineering met the Aussie desert, and it worked. Today, the FH16 is a staple of modern road trains. It might not have the gritty reputation of a Mack or Kenworth, but it's earned respect the hard way by dragging triple trailer sets across thousands of unforgiving kilometers. It's proof that even tuxedos can handle dust if they're tough enough. 8. Scania R730V8. If Volvo was the refined guest at the rodeo, Scania's R730V8 rolled in like the Scandinavian cousin who secretly loves bull riding. With a thundering 730 horsepower V8, this was Scania's strongest offering, and it was tailored for Australia's road train laws. Operators quickly realized the R730 could take on serious cattle and fuel runs across Queensland and the Northern Territory. Its comfort levels were almost decadent by outback standards: air-conditioned seats, ergonomic controls, and a cabin that didn't rattle your teeth loose. For drivers used to Spartan interiors, it felt like stepping into a luxury apartment that just happened to drag 150 tons behind it. Of course, some purists teased it as too European, but the Scania proved itself where it mattered, on dirt roads hauling triples. It blended brute force with finesse, like a heavyweight boxer who can also dance. That combination made the R730 a modern icon in its own right. 9. Mercedes-Benz Actros road train spec. The Mercedes-Benz Actros might not be the first name you think of when someone says road train, but in the last decade it's carved out a serious place in Australia. Why? Because Daimler built a version tough enough for the bush, then handed it to operators who demanded nothing less than quad-trailer grit. With modern engines pushing north of 600 horsepower, advanced safety tech, and cabins that feel more Formula One than farm truck, the Actros has become a favorite in Western Australia and the Territory. It's particularly common in bulk haulage fleets, where efficiency and uptime are everything. Sure, some truckies still rib it as the German tourist, but the Actros has answered back with reliability records and performance figures that can't be ignored. Watching one tear down a red dirt highway with 4 trailers swinging is proof enough. This isn't a tourist. It's a permanent resident of the Outback. 10. Mack Titan. If there's one truck that sums up the phrase Australian road train legend, it's the Mack Titan. Designed for the kind of payloads that make bridges nervous, the Titan was purpose-built for the Pilbara mines and the Northern Territory's longest hauls. With up to 685 horsepower and torque figures that could pull your house off its foundations, it was a machine that didn't just move freight, it moved mountains. The Titan quickly became the weapon of choice for operators hauling 200-plus ton loads of ore, fuel, and machinery. It wasn't about looking sleek or being comfortable. Though the cab was better than most, it was about delivering raw, unstoppable grunt. Drivers often joked that you didn't drive a Titan, you just pointed it in a direction and hung on. Today, the Titan still roams the Outback highways, its bulldog emblem leading convoys of trailers like a general marching an army. In the hierarchy of Australian road train trucks, the Mack Titan doesn't just sit at the table, it owns the head of it. And there you have it, 10 road train legends that turned the Outback into their playground. From the clunky AEC to the mighty Mack Titan, these trucks didn't just haul freight, they hauled Australia forward. Which one's your favorite? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget, out here, the road train isn't just a truck, it's a lifeline.